Karl, I am so happy you're here because you are the master of all of this. If you were to give each candidate a piece of advice going in tonight and tell them, listen, here's what you need to do, here's what you should do, or here's what you would avoid, what would you tell each candidate?
Well, I'd tell Donald Trump that the focus has got to be on what he wants to do, what he's done a little bit, what he wants to do a lot, and then find a way to contrast everything with Joe Biden. I mean, one of the things, the president's right, answering questions to the press gives you a certain amount of debate prep, but that's answering their questions. He's got to find a way to turn the question to contrast with Joe Biden, which means he needs to pivot to what he thinks is Joe Biden's vision and how that badly contrasts with his. On the case of Joe Biden, I'd say the key thing is to stay focused on his vision for the future and don't get drawn into the mano-a-mano fight. I mean, Biden sounded like he wanted to come in and rumble. That's not the best path for him. The best path for him is to be the unifier who's got a concrete idea of what he wants to do as president and attempts to draw everybody around that vision. And to the degree that he gets drawn into a mud fight with President Trump, that doesn't serve his advantage.
Along those lines, that's terrific advice. Ari Fleischer was on a short time ago, and he had some great advice for Donald Trump that fit with what Karl Rove was just saying. To ask Joe Biden specific questions about his policy, to smoke him out, in other words, to say, New York just took $1 billion away from police. I'm against this type of defending. Do you support that move? Do you oppose it? I am for continued fracking. You have said you will ban it. Are you for fracking or do you oppose it? How would Joe Biden answer those two questions?
Well, he's answered them in multiple interviews and in town halls, and we'll see if they come up tonight. But I agree with my good friend Karl Rove on that advice he gave. You know, Donald Trump figured out early in 2016 how to run against Hillary Clinton, how to paint her publicly, how to go against her on a debate stage. His campaign has had trouble doing that with Joe Biden because he doesn't have the same vulnerabilities that Hillary Clinton did. And he is quite moderate in the Democratic Party. And so I think Donald Trump tonight needs to both see if he can land on a message about Joe Biden, but also when he's been asked by people in interviews like Sean Hannity about his second-term agenda, Donald Trump has not had a good answer yet. And these elections are mostly about the future. He needs one tonight. And Joe Biden, I think, has been doing prep in a much more traditional way. And tonight, I think, will make several cases, one of which being his argument that he's had all along that this is an election about the soul of America. And you're going to hear Donald Trump make a lot of outrageous claims, say a lot of outrageous things, and Joe Biden's going to triple down on his Main Street versus Park Avenue message and really draw a contrast on things like COVID, on things like the economy. That's what you're
I'm
going to
give
hear tonight,
you one more chance to answer my question if you have any interest in doing that. If they say to Joe Biden, I oppose taking $1 billion away from the police in New York, do you support that or do you oppose it? What answer do you think he should give?
Well, Melissa, I did answer your question. I said he has answered those questions multiple times. And one answer he could
What's
give
the answer?
about, I don't know why you keep asking me to answer questions when you just don't like the answer. One answer Joe Biden could give is, you know who's actually taking money away from funding police and fire departments and first responders? It's people who don't pay their fair share of taxes. Donald Trump, why do the American people fund the police through their taxes, and yet you're unwilling to do so? So I think there's a lot of issues where Trump needs to be careful how much he pushes Biden. He really needs his own proactive message for these next 4 years. We haven't heard that from the president yet.
Okay. Harris, I didn't hear an answer in there. I heard, once again, as always, a pivot to what's bad about Donald Trump. Do you think if Joe Biden is asked a direct question, do you oppose this or do you support it? Should he answer, hey, look over here at Donald Trump, like Marie did?
Oh, I always take Karl Rove's advice on these sorts of things. I do. He's already answered that himself, actually. He said, no, talk about what you're going to do and not about the other guy. Karl, I think you're absolutely right about that. But in terms of how many questions these guys are going to get to ask each other, this is Chris Wallace's debate for these guys. He's the debate moderator. And I trust that if there is a true follow-up with anything, Chris is going to get at it. And these gentlemen need to be energized and awake for that battle. They can fight each other if they want, but the answers and the questions are really going to come from the moderator. I would say this, and Karl, you touched on this, Martha, I think you did too. So, you know, going into this, there are expectations for each of these men. And Donald Trump, the president, has done a good job of saying you got to look out for energy with Joe Biden. You got to do all these things. Joe Biden comes out with that language about bravado and how he's going to be, you know, tough and a fighter. I'm paraphrasing him. But that's not really what energy is. Energy is in that moment, those leadership qualities and that answer and that comeback and so on and so forth. And voters that I've been talking with say that's what they're looking for from each candidate. They want to see leadership in the moment. That to them equals energy, not whether or not you can stand up there for 90 minutes and pound each other.
I love it.
No
I
fisticuffing.
love it. I'm so excited. All right. Go ahead, Martha.
Well, I just want to say, you know, I think there could be a moment of sort of there he goes again, and that could come from Joe Biden. We remember that Ronald Reagan moment. The thing I hear over and over, I talked to a lot of voters here in Ohio over the past couple of days, that there is a sentiment out there that wants sort of things to be calmer. They want a sort of more civilized country. And, you know, there's plenty of arguments on the Trump side for why he's had to push so hard and be so bold and even crass at sometimes to get what he wants. But there is a voter out there who wants things to be calm. And I think that Joe Biden, you know, there might be a moment for him tonight to look at the president and say, yeah, there he goes again. You know, this is what we've all gotten used to over these 4 years. And if that works for him, we'll see.